Hello, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I'm otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And what my goal is to inspire you to lead a healthier life. So when I proposed my podcast, I proposed that we present it in two different segments. The first one is It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, where I get to share everything I have learned to return my health back to relative wellness and to live a pain-free life in spite of the fact that I have autoimmune disease. But the second part of my podcast is this episode, and that's Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. My concept with this is it's all fine and well that you hear me tell my story, but I get a lot of, it's all fine and well that it worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And I wanted you to hear that there are lots of people out there that have made changes in their lifestyle that have supported their health and brought them back to relative wellness. We all have a couple things in common. We all owned our own health. Whatever the doctor was suggesting we did was going on a parallel path to us making these lifestyle changes where we did things that cleaned up our toxic load. We all pay attention to our body. You'll hear jazz in the background because I want you to listen to the rhythm of your health, and I want you to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body had been trying to tell me that I was going to topple over into toxic load for some time. I just wasn't listening. So if you clean up your lifestyle and if you listen to your body, you have a very good chance not of being deprived in any way, but returning to feeling darn good. And that's what these podcasts are really all about. So thank you for joining me. This is going to be a Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that we all inspire you to lead a healthier, happier life. Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of Tell Me Your Story, the Health Coach is in. This is going to be a little different podcast from some of the ones that I've had because I have two guests today, and they're brothers. And they're brothers that really love each other and want to support each other. I went to coaching school, health coach school with the mother, and I know what a hard time Mason had growing up because he had significant digestive issues and Crohn's disease, which his mother shared, but she was not about to give up. She was going to make sure that he got through life and that he could function without all that pain. And she did it. He is now away at college and he is thriving. Now, his brother was older. And when he went to college, he wanted to be part of the solution too. So he took a lot of classes in nutrition and has come up with a really unique product that after we learn a little bit about them, I'm going to want them to tell you about because it's really a nifty product and I just sampled it over the last 2 weeks. So let's get started. Let's talk about Crohn's disease and what a horrible time you had, Mason, getting through your early years in high school because you had so much upset in your stomach and your body.
Truly.
So, tell me your story.
I guess to start it off, I was the first ever issues I ever had. I was on a mission trip in Guatemala, and on the second to last day, I drank some water that I, looking back, probably shouldn't have drank. And on the flight home, I started getting serious stomach pains and cramps. And for that, I can't remember if it was like a 5-hour flight or whatnot, but it was long. It was long enough that it was burdensome,
Awful.
quite burdensome. And by the time I got home, I was just completely hunched over and clutching my chest and my stomach. And my parents were like, "Oh, it's just stomach aches."
Montezuma's revenge is what we call
Yeah.
it in California when you go to
You drank that
Mexico.
water, you probably got a bug. We can, go to the doctor tomorrow. And closer towards the night, it was during the summer, so dark during summer, 8 p.m. maybe. I was crawling to move. I couldn't stand up. I was near the toilet in pain. I felt like I had to use the restroom, but I couldn't. So we went to the ER, wondering what was up. They did some scans, and they said, hey, you have some inflammation in your colon, really bad bug. You'll be good. Take these antibiotics. Everything was, and that was at the beginning of my freshman year, just before freshman year of high school. And as I went through freshman year, I started noticing I had trouble in the restroom sometimes. I was in there for a long time, uh, you, busy in the restroom. Not in a good way. I wasn't making myself prettier in the mirror. I
Right.
was stuck on the toilet, and it's I started getting like cramps, and water hurt to drink if I drank like large amounts. There's just all these weird things going on. And right before my exams, about 2 weeks before my final exams at the end of my freshman year, I got that cramping again, and we had to go back to the ER. And my doctor, my GI doctor, was like, "Hey, something's wrong. You went to the ER twice, and they say it's this bug. I don't think that's right. I don't
Right.
think."
Montezuma's revenge doesn't last that long.
Yes, certainly. And so we ran some tests, and we had a colonoscopy done, and that was one of the craziest days of my life. It was 2 days before my exams by the time I had the colonoscopy done. Uh, I remember just getting out of that, you get on the gurney, then they take you away, and boom, you're out. They got the anesthesia, and you're out. And I wake up, and my parents are crying, and I'm like, probably not a good result, is the only thing I'm thinking in my head. I guess it'd be the nurse came in, and he explained, hey, your son has Crohn's disease, as he talked to my parents, and he started talking to me about what that means and how you know uh, it's going to be tough. There are solutions, or we should say remedies for now, is what they were offering, not really solutions, to the pain, is really what they could offer. Later that day, I couldn't even think or process what was going on, so I was just like, take me to school. I don't want to go home. I don't want to sit. I want to go to school, and I'll just study for my exams. Let's just have this go over my head. Let's not think about it. um we talked to my doctor. They wanted to put me on Remicade, was the first medication they wanted to put me on, and my mom was like, I'd rather not. So that's a more powerful drug, and they're like, well, maybe Humira, and that's an even more powerful drug. And my mom was up in flames. She kept it controlled in front of the doctor and was like, oh, we'll think about this prescription and whatnot. But when we got home, she's like, you're not allowed to take it. We're not doing this. That is, I know, like, we know the side effects of those. We know what that leads to, and we know
Was it similar to what she had suffered from when she was
um,
younger?
she suffered from a sequel bascle, which is a larger intestine than needed. Like, her large intestine was a foot longer than it needed to be, and so it wasn't attached to the back wall of her. I guess it'd be. I'm not sure what it's attached to, but it wasn't like put down. There was no cartilage or anything holding it down, and so it would flop around, and when it folded, that would cause her pain. So she had like probably similar pain, but a different
Right.
category of.
With different solutions.
Yes, certainly. And so she started reading, going on the internet, looking for solutions, asking friends, talking to other doctors, because our doctor was very bland, very vanilla when it came to it was, look, here's what it says in the medical book. I got this solution here. And like, that's what he was trained to do. So I can't,
Well, and doctors are taught to hear the ailment and match the pill. I
exactly.
didn't realize that until I got sick, but that's what they learn in medical school.
Mhm.
And so he was doing, and his number one contact is a pharmaceutical rep. So he was doing what he was taught to do. But
Certainly.
thank God your mom wasn't going to allow that. She wasn't going to let him be the who said of the greatest magnitude, which is an old retail term that I learned. He is not God, and he does not know everything, and we have to own our own bodies. It's one of the
Exactly.
things I like about your mom. So, okay, so your mom started researching, and then what happened next?
So we before we got to our solution, which I'll get to in a moment, I was put on uh, steroids. I can't recall the name of the steroid right now, but Prednisone is the steroid. I was put on like 40 milligrams of prednisone, and I had to take the Nexium little purple pill thingy to make sure I didn't have heartburn problems or anything else along with it. And the doctors recommended maybe eating less food, try like protein shake type of things, like Boost, all the essentially the commercials you see for older folk and needing a little bit of more
Which
muscle.
is all chemicals. I just
Yeah,
looked it up for a client. I went, do you know what
yes,
you're drinking?
it is a high amount of sugar, a bit of protein, and then some things you can't read on the label.
Right. And my rule is if you can't pronounce it or you don't know what it is, your body doesn't either, so you
Probably
don't put it in your body.
exactly. And so we started, I started drinking the Boost shakes is the ones I used. And my mom, about like 2 weeks later, I had to go to the emergency room again. And it's just at this point, it's for pain and to make sure I didn't have a stricture, which is where the colon would become so narrow from inflammation that nothing could move through. And in that case, they have to have emergency surgery. So about, I guess it'd be like 4 weeks after I had got the diagnosis, my mom found this book called Breaking the Vicious Cycle. And in the book, it goes over the specific carbohydrate diet, which in short is called the SCD diet or SCD. Um, when she first told me about the SCD, I looked at her like she was an alien. I mean, I just like you're kidding me. Like you want me to do that? You think I'm not going to eat pasta? I love pasta. Like it was blowing my mind. But as I went to the emergency room for the fourth time, things started to become more
Yeah.
confusing.
It's funny how we start to be more open to health
Yes, you're open to
solutions.
ideas. And we, yeah, just some struggling through that summer as my freshman year ended, going through the summer, I started transitioning onto the diet, which starts out with pretty much eggs and bananas, and that's it. It starts with the basics of like cut out as many things as you can. And the goal of the diet is to eliminate complex carbohydrates. So breads, sugars, starches, low starch foods are okay, but anything with over a certain starch count, not good. Like I can have bananas, can't have plantains because plantains have too much starch in
Right.
them. Can't have oats and grains and things like that. Can't have lactose. So it was a lot of things to cut out. And we kind of like took a leap of faith on it and we switched doctors because our doctor at first said no. My doctor was like, no, this, no, 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 we don't trust that. You need to be on prednisone. And then if prednisone doesn't work, we'll transition to something else because my inflammation was going down. They kept doing blood work on me throughout the summer, and my blood work numbers, my CRP was going down. And so they were like, hey, it looks like it's starting to move in the right direction. Keep it up. And I was like, how long? Because at this point I'm at the ER fifth time in the summer. I am in pain on most days and I'm on the toilet for over an hour a day easily. And while I
It
felt,
wasn't fun.
yeah, no, it wasn't fun. Well, I was trying to have the summer of a lifetime. All my friends were cheering me up all the time and we're going out and doing fun things, go-karting, things, anything we can find to have fun. I'm still in pain. And so I start the diet, and at first it it didn't make a difference for me. At first, I couldn't notice. I couldn't, physically, I like the numbers were getting down faster as I started getting on the diet, but the pain was still there. And that was really tough. Through the rest of that summer, I ended up having 40 doctor's visits and 9 ER visits over 80 days.
Oh my God.
So it was a very, very jam-packed summer full of going to the doctor, going to the doctor, going to the doctor, which was quite the strain. It became hard, but as the diet opens up after the first month, you're allowed to start adding foods, and adding foods not meaning foods that are, we call them illegal or legal foods on the diet. It's very strict. It's not something where you cheat a little bit. The diet is you stick to this because you need to eliminate certain bacteria in your intestines that feed off complex carbohydrates. So you cannot give them anything. So it slowly opens up to, okay, now you can have apples and fruits because the skin, the peel, on fruits is hard to digest, fibrous, and that's just a little bit harder on anybody's digestive system. And so someone with Crohn's, slowly ease into these things. And after 3 months, towards the end of summer, I was pretty much open to all the things I could have. During those 3 months, um, I slowly kind of fit into the diet. Every once in a while I'd be like, oh, I could just have like maybe a nibble of bread here or something like that. Maybe I could do a nibble of this or whatever through the summer. And, my mom won't find out. It won't matter in the emergency room. And it's
It wasn't about your mom finding out, it was about your body rebelling.
yes, yeah. It was a pretty simple equation. And the more and more it happened, I started picking up on what was going on here. 1+1 was equal to 2 real quick. So after the summer, I went to the emergency room. I call this my last time. I theoretically, or not theoretically, I did go one more time, but it was because I caught a stomach bug. It was so a little hiccup in I guess the plan or whatnot. But the last time I went, I had a fecal calprotectin of 1800. To put that in reference of what kind of pain or how that would have felt, normal is under 50, and doctors get concerned over 300. They get, hey, we need to do something about this when you're over 300. And then when you're in 500, it's time for medication, like serious medication. And I had gotten up to 1800. And this was while following the diet. At this point, I was rather strict to the diet. And it was like one really, really bad flare, as we call them.
I get flares with autoimmune disease, so I understand that.
Certainly, yeah. And so I had to be hospitalized overnight. I was so dehydrated from vomiting and other things that I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was rendered to a toilet and then to a hospital bed. I had 2 IVs with water in me that night to make sure I was hydrated, and couldn't drink, couldn't hardly chew on ice, for that matter. The next 2 mornings later, I stayed in the hospital for 2 nights. 2 mornings later, they ran a scope on me, and it came out clear. I still had granulomas, which are the calling card of Crohn's, but I had 0 inflammation in my stomach or
That's
my spine.
huge. That's huge.
I started off with 12 inches of inflamed small intestine, and it went to 0. And from that day on, I haven't had a serious issue with Crohn's. I've had pain come and go at times, and the doctors prescribed me like hydrocodone, like for when I would be in really bad pain, which I only had to take twice ever. Once was the time I caught the stomach bug later in my sophomore year of high school. And since then, I haven't had to take anything because the diet broke through. It was like a breakthrough moment. That last time to the ER was like the last time that I've had to really be afraid of my disease at all times in the sense of pain. Now I've had, times where I still have to go to the restroom for a long period of time, but the diet finally flushed out enough of the bad bacteria that I wasn't having my stomach inflamed or my intestines inflamed all the time. And
so you were still on the diet though, right? You didn't stop. You did not deviate from that.
Absolutely not. I'm still on the diet today. I swear by it, up and down. It is, I won't, if we're at the dessert table, not even, no chance. I mean, there's nothing that can get me to cheat on the diet. It won't happen. I know what the pain and the consequences.
Do you care anymore? Because once I gave up sugar, it wasn't calling my name the same way. Everybody can eat dessert and I can care less.
Yeah, no, it's, after the first year was tough, sitting at the lunch table, everyone's got their chicken nuggets and things they got from the cafeteria and their hamburger and whatnot. And I'm, picking around like with a smoothie that we made, with ingredients that I can have, or a meal made by my uncle, who's a chef, and he would cook me meals that I could have and I'd bring them to school. And, it was a little tough. I was my friend group would, poke fun at me all the time, all in good spirits, oh, look, there's a Mater meal, as they called it. because they call me Mater. And so they're like, here's Mater meals. And I had them in these little tinfoil packages that I'd bring to school. But, the diet worked. And the way it's like a long process of understanding what all the diet has done physically in my intestines. But a brief like thing to understand. So when I was diagnosed, we had some samples taken, and I had 13 or so of these bacteria that were known in IBD patients. They were known to cause IBD, or I can't say really cause, but are very, very heavily associated with IBD. And 2.5 years later, I only had 5 out of the original 11. And then at the end of my senior year of high school, I had 3. And I went from someone who had much less bacteria on average in my intestines than the normal person to far more than the average person. And they were good bacteria, healthy bacteria for me to be having in my intestines. And we had a scope done at the end of my freshman year of college. I finally got healthy enough throughout my high school career, I guess, or whatnot, through high school, that I was able to cook all my own food. I was able to keep up with all my problems, and I can live normally and functionally as everyone else. The difference is you go to not you, but someone goes to Wendy's, I buy a pound of ground turkey, some broccoli, and some spinach, mix it up and make myself a meal for the next 2 days or whatnot.
Yeah, one of the things I discovered when I lost my pain and decided I was never going to eat the standard American diet ever again is eating with my friends had nothing to do with what I put in my mouth. What I wanted was the social life.
Exactly.
So the fact that I couldn't go and maybe eat with them, I carry emergency food with me. So if they pick a restaurant I can't eat at, I'll take that in and I'll eat that, or I'll eat when I get back to the car. I always have a can of wild salmon with me, although I have to be careful because I have sprayed that oil all over me and I smell like cat food. But yeah, it doesn't interrupt. You're not deprived. It doesn't interrupt your social life. It's just you have to re-mindset what's important to you. And to me, it was important not to have all the pain in my joints and my muscles. For you, it was important not to spend your whole life in the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where it came to. I go out with my friends when they go to restaurants, and I'll eat after, I'll eat before, or maybe occasionally at the restaurant at very few places, but sometimes I'll be, hey, this is a better place that I can trust their food more. I'll order just some meat or just some vegetables.
Right. I will vet a restaurant before I go out to it if I can. I call the chef and I say, I'm hard to feed. This is what I need. Can you feed me? I have 18 food sensitivities. So I go through it with them. They actually come out to the table to meet me when I arrive because they're kind of excited that they get to do something different than what they normally serve on their menu. And then they're very proud that they have come up with something that they can feed me. But I've learned not to be embarrassed. It's just what I have to do for me. And I do it as fun as I can do it. But yeah, and you have learned to do the same thing. Now you're younger, so it was probably more peer pressure for you, although a lot of people think I'm nuts.
It was tough. Definitely through high school, I really, really loathed going out sometimes when I had to order, because it was like, oh, now I got to call over the chef, we'd have to talk to these people. And I eventually grew, into it. And it's not as much of a problem or any of a problem much now, because I can go to a restaurant. I have a little card. I don't have one with me right now, but I have a card that has all the sensitivities I have.
Good. I also made one.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Restaurants love that because they don't want to make their guests sick.
Truly. And I hand them the card and I say, hey, here are the things that I need help with. Can you do this for me? If not, that's okay. Like, I'm fine saving $20 tonight. That's okay with me. But if you can, I'll gladly eat here. It's what you can do. And now I go out with my friends. I'd say about 75% of the time with them I go out. Sometimes I don't, but I am a biochemistry student right now, so that 25% is usually allocated towards study time rather than because I don't feel like it. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you go to other people's house for dinner? What do you do when you're invited out?
When invited out, I very often try to eat before. It's difficult for people to cook for me. With most diets, most people can find a way. With a lot of diets, depending on, how strict they are, like how strict the like ingredients list should be, I should say. I mean, obviously the strictness of the diet, follow it or you don't, you know. But with it's very, they usually would have to go out of their way possibly to buy
Yeah, I
ingredients.
tell people not to even worry about it.
Yeah, I
I
just
want to
say don't worry.
come. I want to spend the evening with them. I'm thrilled that I'm going to meet their friends. I'm going to bring our food. And
Truly,
I
yeah.
don't want them to be upset that I'm not going to eat their food because unfortunately, it doesn't matter what they make, their food's going to make me sick. So
Yes.
I'll bring enough for everybody. And I have learned to put some in a separate container, or sometimes I don't get to eat because I am still a foodie. And so my cooking's pretty good, even though it's around what I can eat. So I make sure I have some set aside and then everybody else can try it. And nobody goes, oh, ick, this is healthy. I don't want to eat it. So we have a good time and they make fun of me and I don't care because I feel good when I leave.
Exactly. Yeah, no, with my friends, I usually every once in a while I'll share my foods when they come over, when my friends come over to my apartment, I'll share some of my foods. I cook steaks every once in a while. I'm like, hey, would you like some steak? And hey, would you like some of this? I make like a ground turkey with like honey and like cayenne pepper. And it's like a sweet
Ooh,
and spicy. And some people love it. Some people aren't their favorite, but it's one of my favorite foods. And a lot of my friends come up, they're like, I need some sweet and spicy turkey, right? And I'm like, all right, I got you. But when I go out, I usually try to make like a protein shake that I can have so I can pack calories and keep low, because we probably go into two or three places, whoever, maybe to one friend's house, and we might go to a movie theater or somewhere else. And so I usually try to bring like a shaker bottle just full of a protein shake, loaded with the calories that I need. And that's usually how I do it when I go out. And I mean, I'm just over here drinking a shake. I mean,
right. And restaurants don't care. Your friends are all buying food.
yeah, they're
And so they are very accommodating.
yeah, certainly. And sometimes the fun is I sometimes have fun at restaurants. If it's ever a more fast food place that I can't order, I usually will I'll have fun with the waitresses or waiters and just be like, oh no, no, you have nothing for me. I'll just be a little fun with them. I try to have fun with it when I'm with my friends, come up with a new funny excuse for why I'm not eating food to the waitress every time.
Now you don't drink alcohol, right?
Um, on occasion I do, very rarely, and very certain types. Uh, Vodka only, and that's it. Nothing else. Won't try it, won't dare even go off. And that's because the diet says you can have this on occasion. That's it.
And it doesn't bother you when you do it.
It Some will and some don't, and I've found the ones that don't, and I stick to those. I'm not here to, try to tour all the different types. This is what works. Those don't. Stick to that. Don't stick to that.
Oh, I'm happy that you have found ways around all this stuff. That's really the key.
Mhm. It's truly finding the balance for each individual person. Because while a diet may be very, what I found, especially with the SCD diet, is while it's a extremely good outline, and it's almost got the whole picture drawn in. There's some things on the diet that aren't very good with me, like chicken. I'm not good with chicken for some reason, so I don't eat chicken.
It's a
Egg.
sensitivity of mine too. I used to eat so much chicken, I thought I was going to cluck. And then it showed up as one of my big sensitivities. And I realized every time I ate it was when I blew up and my everything got puffy and my joints and my muscles started hurting. Never in my life would I have thought that chicken would do that to me.
Yeah, and that was a lot with mine. I noticed I'd look like I was like 2 months pregnant after after eating some chicken or whatnot, and so I cut those things out, and so find what you can and can't have, and
Right. And it's learning to listen to your body, which it sounds like you've done really well.
truly, yes, I should keep a journal. I would recommend to anyone listening to keep a food journal if you can. Every once in a while, if I notice pain, I'll write down what I had, but I usually don't record. It's best to just record everything because sometimes symptoms can come days later and you might forget what you had the other day. But I've gotten it down to where I have a list of things, and when I go to the grocery store, it's like a routine almost. I like, for me, I like routines. I like going, I'm going to go the same direction through the grocery store and get these things, and I know where they are. It'll take me like 5 minutes to go through a giant grocery store because I know exactly what I need and where to get it.
And there's a lot of aisles that there's no sense in you
Oh
even
yeah,
going down them.
yeah. No. The
Yeah,
potato chip and snack aisle, not even trying. Not
yeah.
even gonna walk on it.
And I actually have a conversation every morning when I get up, when I look at myself in the mirror, and I ask myself, how do I feel? And then I get quiet and I listen to it. Because if I can react right away, I can stop a flare from coming on by just
Mhm.
paying attention. And for 20 years, while my autoimmune disease built up, it was coming so quick, I wasn't paying any attention to it. I knew there were things going wrong with my body, but I was an A-type personality working 24/7, and I did not even put the dots together. So now every morning we have that conversation, and my body is very smart. It knows when it's not happy, and it tells me.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
It's nice. I mean, it's not nice in any way whatsoever. But Crohn's does let you know when you've messed up. You will know. Believe me. There are signs that, hey, maybe we did something wrong here.
So
So,
now
but
you're feeling pretty good most of the time.
I feel I don't I from being on the bathroom to over an hour a day, I'm on the toilet maybe 20 minutes a day now. I don't have pain. Maybe once a month, I'll have a day where it's like I feel like bloated. And so I'll just take a few steps back. Maybe we don't eat at the restaurant this time. Maybe we don't, maybe we'll just make the protein shake for today's meals.
Yeah, that's the
We'll
talking to your body part. That's good.
keep it a little smooth. I'll, hey, whoa, tone it down. Let's see. What were we maybe doing wrong? Let's just take care of things. And but I don't know another person with Crohn's. There's got to be them out, but I don't know another person with Crohn's who handles it the way I
I
do.
know somebody who has Crohn's and he's miserable and he never leaves his house and they have not made any changes to his diet and he's not open to it. So, my message to anybody listening to this is wherever you are with your health, there are solutions if you change your lifestyle. So, do not give up and keep researching
Absolutely.
because you are an excellent example of somebody who came from the worst symptoms of Crohn's and now you're living a normal life
Yeah,
as a college student. It
yes,
can be
yeah. I
done.
went and I to point out like kind of like the just like show the differences. When I was in my freshman year, I haven't gained any height really since my freshman year, about an inch. Maybe I pretty much grew and I'm 5'10", and that's how it's gonna stay. I wish I could be 6, but
Actually, when I was 20, I grew another inch. It surprised me. So it
really,
could still happen.
that
Yes.
would be nice. I wouldn't be opposed. But I was 115 during the middle of that summer. I'm a healthy 145 right now at this about the same height. I go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. You know, I take care of what I need to do. I'm able to gain weight. And for those people who, with Crohn's or whatnot, who are over there and like you're having a hard time, and they're like, I have a friend here who is actually going to be my roommate next year, and he has Crohn's also, and he's on Humira. He had like on the toilet for an over an hour at least once to twice a day, and that's in like one sitting. And there's some days where he's like, no, I can't come over, I can't come over. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to me is I know I have to use the restroom beforehand, and I'll just go use the restroom before I go somewhere, and I'm fine. There's nothing like if I'm at a place and I have to use a restroom, then I have to use a public restroom. But that's the worst thing that can happen to that. Well, not that can happen, that has ever happened to me so far.
Right.
Obviously, who knows? But as we're pretty sure, I'm on solid ground right now.
Now, I don't want to go into the solution yet, but you had a problem getting vitamins,
Yeah.
correct?
So
And what happened when you took vitamins?
so most vitamins have fillers in them, like just little like rice starch or something, just to hold the pill like more. I'm not sure if it's to make it more poofy or to hold it together right, or what it
That's
really
what
like. I like to fill
yeah.
up the capsule, or what. I'm sure my brother could go on more
Okay,
about
you're coming on soon, James. So
Yeah,
one
no worries,
second.
no worries.
there's like
I can elaborate more in a minute.
like, there's little things in pills that I would notice I'd have a looser stool or something later in the day if I took those pills, and I'd be like, I don't really like that. That's not a ton of fun. Um, and so there's a specific brand that I could get for my vitamins, and they didn't really have a multivitamin or anything. And then I was taking like 8 or 9 pills in the morning, and none of them were medications. They're all vitamins. But I think anyone can tell you if you've ever taken 8 or 9 vitamins in the morning, and you haven't eaten food, you're nauseous. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't feel well. You take a bunch of pills in the morning, blah, it's like, oh my goodness, it's too
And they
many.
talk back at you.
Yeah, and then you might burp in it. Who knows what that's
Right.
gonna be like.
Oh my god.
But I went like all these different pills that I had to take, and I'll also talk about this. Will really lead into Jamie's thing nicely here. I always looking for snacks, like a little sweet thing I can have, and a lot of times I usually eat things in bulk, and I don't like eat a ton of things, but I'll
That's
eat
the
a
truth.
lot of one thing instead of having maybe a few of these things and a little bit of that and some of this. I'm like, all right, a pack of raspberries. I'm eating it right now. I'm going to empty this pack of because I'm like, I want to eat something. Might as well eat the whole pack. But I love fruits, love vegetables, and so
And
uh,
interesting that raspberries don't bother you with the seeds.
no, it's surprise. Raspberries are really good for me. Like they're good to me. Pears, apples, bananas, uh, peaches, and mangoes. Sometimes I'll notice like a little bit of like a bloating. I don't know why. I don't. Maybe they're just not my thing. But sometimes with those, I can do pineapple real well. Blackberries are pretty good. I just have to not eat as many. But I can pretty much, yeah, with most of the fruits, I will go and I'll just pack of strawberries right now. Sounds good.
Right. Well, it's a lovely thing that you can do that when there's so
Yes,
many things you can't eat, and they're delicious and they're really good for you.
they are, and they taste so good. I love the taste. I could go on forever about how much I love fruit, but about all that is it's like little snacks that I can have. Something where, because my biggest thing is I have to take time to cook most of my meals, and so it's okay. Got to get out the pans and pots and got to clean everything afterwards. And it's going to take about 30 minutes to 45 minutes from when I want to start eating to when I've eaten and things are cleaned up, you know, and that can take a little bit longer. And so it's where can I find a snack? Because that's what's hard to find in a grocery store. I can't really, anything in a bag. Like unless it's frozen vegetables, if it's in a bag, we're probably not getting it. If it's in a can, we're definitely not getting it unless it's like sometimes the tuna in a can. I'll get that every once in a while. The little, but so like honey is it's the only sweetener I can have on my diet. No maple syrup, no stevia, no sugar in the raw or whatnot, none of that.
No coconut sugar.
And no coconut sugar, no. And so honey is my go-to, and my favorite like snack I'd make is like I'll have pecans and I'll roast them, like I'll bake them, and then I'll put a little bit of honey on them and some salt and olive oil, and they're so good.
Right.
They're very good. But I love honey, and this is what plays into my brother's company. This is where light bulbs started going off in his head. Is I need vitamins, and I want a snack that kind of tastes good, and I can just grab and whoop, we're good. And that's kind of what I've been looking for, and where a solution has popped up right in my own house, not even in the backyard, in the
Well,
house.
it's really the love of your brother to want to be part of your health, which is lovely.
Truly.
So, okay, James, you're on. What did you
Perfect.
do that made you invent this new product to help your brother?
Yeah, so like I'll give a little bit of backstory too, just because I there's a lot of funny things that I remember, not necessarily funny, but the funny things that from when Mason was going through this whole struggle. Obviously, at first I was like very upset, and I was a little bit angry myself. I was like, well, I don't understand how this could be happening. It doesn't make sense in my head. Like, he should be healthy, stuff like that. So I was a little bit frustrated. And then I went off to school at Belmont, and I was concerned with my brother, obviously, because he was getting ready to go through high school and then go to school himself. And my mom was always threatening him in a good way, I guess, because it helped him in the long run. But, oh, you're not allowed to go to college unless you stick to this diet. So it's stuff like that. And then she eventually helped him. Like, he was trying to get a new phone or something. And she was like, only if you stick to the diet, you'll get a new phone. So stuff like that was kind of funny.
Well, your
But in
body
the end,
also
obviously,
made sure that you did it, I think. It was a combination of your body and your mom.
Yeah, there were
yeah.
two things put together.
So yeah, the power of both of them is very incredible. But yeah, so I went to school, and then I was working on I'm an entrepreneurship major, and then I obviously knew a lot about health and wellness from my mom, studying
Right.
all this stuff about the vicious diet. Even she's reading, Truth About Cancer, whatever, new research on charcoal, minerals, whatever she can find. She's going to gather that information and immediately tell everyone she knows, which is great.
Yeah, we get kind of passionate when we find out things that other people don't know that will help them.
Right. So I've had a lot of experience just listening to her and talking about all these nutrients, minerals, micronutrients, new energy waves that might help you in some way, all these crazy things that we might blow off in general, but then you look a little bit deeper and they actually do help. So I remember, I was in school learning about entrepreneurship, and I was taking a class. It was, create a company and then run some numbers on it, make a fake company. And I was like, oh, my mom's into health. I really like health. Like, I'm passionate about these vitamins, minerals. I'm going to start a vitamin delivery company. And so that's kind of what I was like. And I was like, oh, it already existed. So I was kind of upset that I didn't think of it first. But when I sat there, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make it different. And then I came home for Christmas because I was still working on it. And I saw my brother, like, he got all this raw honey from Christmas, and he was just putting it on everything he had to eat. Like, I remember he was putting on pork chops, like on all the berries he was eating. He was like, no matter what it was, he was adding raw honey to it. And I was like, dang, like that's awesome, raw honey. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, what if we took like the raw supplements and put it into something like the raw honey, so that way it's a pure form of the vitamin and it's a pure form of the honey, and there's no binders or fillers that come within those traditional pills that he mentioned that actually inflame him and are very difficult to digest. Even in people who don't have Crohn's, like it can be difficult on our digestive system. Yeah, so what I ended up doing, combining the raw honey and the essential vitamins to make it easier for everyone to take their daily dose. So that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, then I bet your professor was impressed that you came up. So then how did you go out and find somebody to do it for you and package it and do the branding and all of that?
Definitely. It was definitely not, it's not easy for sure. It's definitely a process, but I asked one of my best friends in college, who is also very into health and was like, watches exactly what he eats. He knows. He's like, oh, have you read this? Like, here's what's in this that's bad for you this week. And I'm like, oh man, like he's got a lot of information. I was like, I asked him because we were in school still, and there was a pitch competition. I was like, hey, I can't write this whole pitch competition thing myself. I'd love for you to come help me with it. And so we ended up doing this pitch competition, won second place, won $2,000. And we're like, oh, maybe this is a really good idea. So I asked him to help me out with the company. And so then we both together started this company, and we just kind of asked our parents, asked everyone we knew, just get resources, start making prototypes, just doing a lot of research on what works, what doesn't work, and picking up the phone and calling people and be like, hey, I need some help. Like, what do you got for me? And so that's kind of where it comes from. And then obviously once you get your mission going and people hear about it, they're like, oh, we want to help you. Like, this is a really great idea. And so that also helps too.
Well, and for people like your brother who have Crohn's, this is a lifesaver because it allows them to get nutrients that they're not getting any other way.
For sure. Were you going to say something, Mason?
Yeah, you got to. He started off when he first like came home the summer after I guess it would have been winter.
Yeah, it was in Christmas, experimenting, and I was just being goofy in the kitchen.
He just like started taking the vitamins and pouring them into honey jars and mixing it around. I was like, oh, it doesn't taste, this one's okay. This one's, and we'll see. This vitamin's kind of lacking here. And then he comes home later with this weird giant, or he gets this shipped this like gyrosphere thingy. Like it looks, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Started mixing the honey himself and to make it and see like, hey, would this actually work, and like how good would it taste, and put it, he started making some for us at home, and it was like he made like 30 to 40 sticks at a time, and they were gone in like 2 days, because like my friends would come over. Jamie's really good friends with all my friends, and we'd all hang out, and they'd come over, and Jamie's like, try this vitamin honey stick, and he was offering them like one, and 5 would disappear instantaneously.
That's very true. Yeah. It was very interesting at first. Mason reminded me when I was prototyping. Yeah, I was in the kitchen, just like experimenting, just trying to taste the flavors and like seeing what works, what doesn't work. And so that's why we're like, okay, we got to stick to the 3 basic vitamins that we know are impactful to people's health, but also can help the honey taste better, and also can actually spin into the honey itself. So
fantastic. So how long ago did you launch the business?
So we started back in like right before the pandemic. So like the last week of February. So almost a year is when we've been working on it. And we'd called it Vitamin Honey up until about last week. We actually changed the name and did a little bit of rebranding. And that's where some of our friends came and helped us and be like, hey, we know a packaging company. You should ask them to package it instead of putting it in a cardboard box. And they were like, oh, we know a company that will help put it in honey sticks so you don't have to spin it yourself, because it takes lots of hours and it's taking lots of my time. And I was like, I feel we might be able to allocate some of this time to be better spent elsewhere. So we very thankful for those people to definitely help us in the right direction and get us going with people who can get these packages done, get the honey sticks made, and save me a lot of time, to be honest.
Right. Well, and as an entrepreneur, you don't have time to be doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
You have other things that you're going to have to do if this business is going to grow.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So we're super thankful for that. And yeah, we've got I've got 3 blends now. Finally, we had originally started with just 2 back in February. And I was just testing them at the farmers markets, just seeing like, hey, do people like this? I know we had won pitch competitions, and that would given us a lot of confidence going into like, oh, this is something that people are interested in. So then I reached out to flea markets, and I was like, hey, can I come and sell? They're like, yeah, sure, just pay the vendor fee. And I was like, okay, I'll pay the fee and come sell. So we did pretty well that first weekend, and got a lot of good feedback. And I helped that as part of some of my classes I was doing too. So it was beneficial. I could spend time researching the product and in the class connecting the dots together. So that was really beneficial too.
Cool. So what are your long-term plans to get your honey sticks out? Busy?
Right.
Your busy honey sticks out.
Bizi vitamin honey. So like I said, we've got 3 vitamin blends. We just finished the vitamin B complex blend almost a month ago, which is so fantastic to finally get it in person. So we got the vitamin D3, a vitamin C, and a vitamin B complex. So we're super happy with those 3 basic ones, but we want to expand to maybe eventually adding more higher dose vitamin C, making it from a natural source, adding the K2 to our vitamin D, maybe adding some minerals, and even potentially thinking about long-term CBD honey. I know that's just something we're like contemplating, talking about, just seeing kind of where the market is taking us and letting the customers give us feedback so we kind of know what to expect.
So it's exciting. I loved
Definitely.
it. I enjoyed trying them. So
yeah, for sure.
I think it's got something going for it.
Yeah, and it's perfect too.
I want to see you be successful.
Thank you. It is, like Mason said, kind of perfect because it's in a little honey stick. So we make sure we pack the honey sticks full of the daily amount of your vitamins. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, is half a honey stick so it's just a whole honey stick. You can take it on the go. And then, yeah, it's really cool. I'm going to be honest. If I didn't have to sell them, I would 100% eat all of them. I'm not gonna lie.
You're not allowed to eat your inventory.
Yeah. I literally had to the other day, I literally had to pay myself. I was like, here's 20, I put $20 in my bank account. I was like, man, I'm going to have to eat some. So
I mean, they're very good. I have my friends and my roommates here in Carolina. I take one. I like carpool with my buddy to school every morning, and he'd come in. Can I have a vitamin, honey? Like he'd walk in, and be like, "Can I have a vitamin, honey?" Like I gave you one yesterday. These are for me. Like hold up, have all these. I mean, and they're really like, it's not an exaggeration at all to say they are very good. I mean, like some, like you can have honeys that sometimes don't taste that great or sometimes aren't the highest quality. I'm like, they can even blend honey with other things.
Oh
And
yeah. In fact, honey is often just fructose. They're
yeah,
doing
Yeah,
all
it's a lot
kinds
of
of
fake.
terrible stuff to
Yeah,
honey now,
yeah,
right?
I
yeah.
believe it's up to 10% of like non-honey ingredients and still call it like pure or raw honey, one of the two. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it's definitely important. That's like one of the things we focus on too, because obviously if Mason's getting if he needs the honey to be raw and it can't have any fructose or any sugar in it, and a lot of the times people, honey is the third most fake food in the world, and so it's easy for them to sneak just sugar into the honey because you really can't tell that much of a difference if it's just a tiny amount. But obviously Mason would be able to tell the difference.
But the
Eh,
health benefits are
mhm.
having it be real honey.
Right,
Because
yeah,
once you start putting fructose and sugar in it, there's all kinds of terrible things that does to your body.
and even too, another way that sometimes they can fake the honey is bees normally make honey from pollen, right? They pollinate the flowers, they bring it back. But if the bees are not having a great season, or if there's just so many bees and there's not enough flowers, a lot of beekeepers will start feeding their bees sugar water or even fructose instead of their own honey, which they should supply them with instead. Obviously, they eat some of the honey themselves. That's why they make it. But yeah, so there's some honey is literally just from sugar water and not actually from the plants at all. So there's really little to no nutrients in that as well. So it's something you got to look out for.
Right. And how would somebody know if their honey
It's
wasn't
honestly
honey?
very hard to know. The best way to do it is really know where you're buying your honey from.
Right.
That's really the best way to
Yeah,
know
we buy
because
local at our farmer's market and we know the
yeah.
guy we buy it from.
It's
Hmm.
But
yeah,
we also eat raw honey because it helps both of us with our hay fever.
Hmm.
Because if you
Yeah.
just a little bit of the honey, he's been picking up all the pollen from the flowers, so
Right.
that helps your body fight off the effects of the hay fever. It works like a charm for both of us.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously the micronutrients that come in honey. There's so much micronutrients in honey that come, and they used to use it as besides a preservative, they used to use that for their medicinal effects. It actually helps relax the digestive system sometimes too. And the manuka honey was used to literally heal wounds and burns. It's really it's really impressive, honestly.
Right.
yeah, no, there's a lot of like the things with like you were saying about buying local raw honey is like I won't go get the big jars of honey that you see over at the I don't even it's either I go to school in South Carolina and it's either that there's like two local South Carolina companies and it's one of those two if I'm buying like a little thing of honey that I can put on just my like everyday foods. There's it's that or it's either that honey or busy.
The
Busy.
Right.
vitamin honey.
Vitamin honey. Yeah, that's what we
Those
want
are my
everybody to do. So let's see, how are we doing here? We're good. Um, so how would, well, wait, I want to ask Mason, what are your long-term plans? You're a biochemist, so you're going to be graduating in a couple years.
um there's a few things. I got so with I mean obviously there's the biology or the chemistry side like which way do I want to branch when it comes to my career with a lot of what my gut, and I guess I could say that both literally and theoretically there, of what my gut is telling me to do is go into GI and work in labs and like labs that for either progressive like I would say like hospital systems where they're testing on patients who are using diet instead of other pills for certain illnesses or whatever ailments so that they can overcome them so I can work in the field and maybe point out to
Utilize what you've learned.
yes utilize because one of the things I found is I'm quite because of all the, I've gone to the SCD conference, which we have up in Boston for the diet, and they have some doctors come out and speakers come out. They come to explain really things about the diet, how to, tell other people about it, all the uses for it, different, it's not just for Crohn's, it's also for colitis, anyone with IBD, and, what other, plenty of other things could be used from the diet. I mean, if you want to be
Or
healthy,
somebody who doesn't want to swallow pills
yeah,
would
or
love this.
Yeah.
I swallow so many pills that it's kind of delightful to discover a way to get them without me swallowing yet another one.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And so, that looking to, like, I'm rather fluent when it comes to things with the GI tract, and when it comes to, knowing certain bacterias that are bad, certain bacterias that are good, what amounts of certain things might be, causing problems for people. And so it would be very easy for me to go into, to get like my PhD. I don't think I want to become a doctor. That's a little stressful for me. I don't know if I could, that'd be a little much, but, being behind the scenes of, the hospital system and of the healthcare system, maybe trying to point it in a different direction than it's going now.
One of the favorite people that I follow is a biochemist. And if I were younger, I would go back and become one. I love what she's doing so much. And she wrote a book, Accidentally Overweight, that you probably would enjoy. Have you read that book?
My mom has
It's
told me about it.
it's really not about weight loss at all. It's about how you can't lose weight if your whole body isn't working in harmony. And she'll start with like the liver and talk about how the liver works, and then how to know when the liver is not working, what to do when it's not working, and then how does it relate to the pancreas. And then she'll go over to the pancreas and start the same process until she's covered the whole body, because the liver impacts the heart, the lungs, the pancreas impacts the gallbladder. They all work together. And if you're not working like a fine-tuned machine, then you're not going to be able to be well. And so becoming a biochemist like you are, there are other ways that you can utilize that without becoming a doctor.
Truly, yeah. And I'd love to be able to, because like, while I know the outlines of the diet and how it works, I want to know like why it works. That's like
The
part of the
science
reason.
behind it, right?
Yeah, it's
Right.
like understanding what happened to me. What was this process that I went through, so I can explain it to others better and better, so that they can see the science behind it and not just, oh, here's a book on it, and oh, here's a few research articles on it. Here's a lot of research. How can we get to lots and lots? And there is a lot out there. It's harder to find. You really do have to dig deep.
But somebody needs to pull it all together.
Yes, yeah, to get it, up to the forefront of one of the ways that we treat things like this is truly the mission there. And that's what my gut tells me to do. But then a lot of me also likes the oil industry, and I don't know. I like
Well, and Mason, this is kind of
synthesize
true. This is kind of true to your point, Mason, that a lot of people don't know about the SCD diet, and they don't know that their health can change through diet, through what they do. They think they're being healthy just by, cutting down on their macronutrients, not eating as much fat or not eating as much sugar. And you're like, well, there's a little bit more to it that goes into it. And I know, like, even the people I talk to at school who end up having Crohn's, I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of this diet? Like, maybe you should try. Because like, oh, we gotta go get the gut bag. What's the gut bag called, Mason? I forget.
a
Colostomy.
A colostomy bag, yeah.
A lot of these people are like, oh, well, it's just easier to get a colostomy bag. And I was like,
It's
man,
not.
like,
You don't want to be carrying that
yeah,
sucker around the rest of your life.
they say, oh, it'd be so much easier than being in this pain. I was like, there's so many options, and people just don't know about them. So
Yeah,
I mean,
people don't understand how they have control.
mm-hmm.
And if they study and they change how they eat,
Right.
nothing that goes in my mouth is anything like what went in my mouth before I got autoimmune disease. It's completely different. But if you make changes, and the first thing people ask me is, am I deprived? Heck no. Heck no, because I control what goes into my mouth now. So I cook my own food. So my food is really good. I've learned to cook well, but I cook weird. I don't cook how, if I'm going to make a white sauce, I'm going to start with half a cauliflower. and
Yeah.
some soaked cashew nuts. And then I add everything to it I would have added to a cream white sauce. But people don't know that it's not a cream white sauce. They'll eat it and go, whoa, what is this? You're telling me this doesn't have any milk in it? No, because milk makes me sick.
Yeah,
So there are solutions. You got to be willing to experiment. You got to be open-minded, and then you have to be absolutely sure that you're going to find a way to feel better. And then you keep studying until you figure it out.
truly. Yeah, there's I mean, I kid you not, my doctor when I first got diagnosed, the first doctor that I had quite literally told my mom and I, my mom was like, "Oh, well, can we, what should we, like, at first we went along, my mom was like, okay, well, whatever medications, should we alter his diet a little bit?" And he goes, "No, don't worry about the diet. Don't worry about what you do." And then I mean, it was like, even I, as a freshman in high school, was like, that doesn't add up. Like, this has to do with my intestines. And you're telling me what I eat doesn't, like, that
Yeah,
doesn't,
if they get any nutrition in medical school at all, it's half a day or less.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what people will, I mean, when some people used to tell me I needed to eat differently to lose weight. And so you'd look at them and go, okay, so how should I eat? They don't have a clue. They didn't learn any of that. It's not their fault. It's not what they teach in medical school. And it ends up, I thought I had a problem with willpower. I had no problem with willpower. I was addicted to MSG and sugar and all kinds of stuff and chemicals that were making
Yeah.
me fat because I wasn't getting the nutrition I needed. So my body kept asking for more because it wanted real nutrients.
Truly.
And, a doctor should know that, but we don't teach them that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's one of the things. It's like, I'm at the 300 level, for my chemistry and biology courses, and we haven't, I mean, obviously it's, just chemistry and biology, but we haven't nicked dietary things at all. I mean, obviously, I'm still getting up there. I'm only a sophomore, but I haven't touched anything that has to do with food.
But the other
And
problem is there's money in
that,
pharmaceuticals,
that's
and
true.
there is no money in getting people to eat organic food of all the different colors of the rainbow. And so our medical people, God love them. We need them sometimes. There are things they can do for us that we dearly need them, but most of the time, they're not going to learn what we need to learn. So we need to take responsibility for ourselves and go out there and learn it, because it's night and day what you can do if you start giving your body what it needs.
One last, you night and day, like, to point out, I had, like, that last scope I had, the last scope I had at the end of my, like, freshman year of college, I had no granulomas. I if there if I had not previously been diagnosed with Crohn's, the doctor would have said, "Oh, you have, a minor amount of, like, inflammation there. Maybe you ate something that was bad for you, like, the day before or something." They would have said that to me. I had a few throat ulcers, but that was because I eat really, really late at night, or I used to, and then I'd have, like, the food, my stomach acid,
Yeah,
and like
the
acid,
reflex.
and so that caused, like, a few throat ulcers, and but there were no granulomas, which is the, like, quite legitimately the calling card for Crohn's. And my doctor was quite amazed, and he's like, I mean, like, this is working. He's like, he was like, okay, like, wow.
Well, at least his eyes got opened, which
Yeah,
is
there,
thank God. Yeah. No, it's not, they truly want to help. They just truly don't have any foundation to even begin to understand it.
mhm,
And
absolutely.
so that's part of what's wrong with our healthcare system. Now,
Right.
James, are you going to stay in nutrition and vitamin honey, or you have other plans as well?
No, I mean, this is kind of what I'm hoping to do for a little bit. And just kind of obviously just learn a lot about not only business, but, just the way things work and the way the nutrition reacts to people's bodies, what people want it out of all this too. There's obviously so many trends and so many new things that come out, like the CBD trend is so new. And then there's all the electrotherapy that's coming out that's so new and how it all relates. So I'm not sure where exactly I would go after this, but I know for the time being, I'm really excited about the new company Bizi, and where we're gonna go, where you're gonna see us, and so I'm super pumped about that.
Okay, well, it's been a lot of fun talking to you too. And I love the fact that you loved your brother enough to come up with a solution for him. Tell everybody, I'm going to put it underneath the podcast, but tell people how they're going to be able to find you.
Yeah, for sure. So our Instagram is going to be, if you're on Instagram, is go.bizi. Our website is www.gobizi.co. And you can email us at hello@gobizi.co. So, I mean, we just want to get busy, everyone. So
That's great. And I'm just going to give a plug to your mother for a second.
for sure. Yeah.
Your mother did something I would never have believed could be done. She got a puppy and trained it to be able to find sensitivities for children so that it can alert the child not to eat something, whether it's an allergy or a sensitivity, before it goes into their body and causes havoc. And she did it very successfully more than once. And I think that is fascinating that she did that. So I want to tell people to look up your mom as well. And I'll put that link underneath it because her work is also amazing.
Definitely, yeah. She's obviously super passionate about what she sets her mind to, whether it's my brother and his Crohn's, whether it's training dogs, whether she's learning about nutrition. Man, don't get in her
Or
way.
writing
She'll run you
songs.
over.
Yeah, you have no idea how happy I was when her passion became dogs instead of there was like a split difference. It was like boom, all of a sudden I didn't have a helicopter over my head. Like,
but thank God you did for the time that you did,
yes,
because it was because of that you came through the other end of this.
And that should be maybe something to point out is massively important. I wouldn't have gotten here if my friends and my family did not support me.
The number one element of health for anybody is community.
Truly.
And I don't think we realize that. There's a new thing that we're 2 degrees of separation away from people who are, they're the people who are dramatically impacting our health in terms of how they support us. So we know that if we're 5 degrees away, we can meet everybody in the world, where if whoever we associate within 2 degrees, that's how healthy we are. And so we have a choice of being the influencer or being influenced by the 2 degrees of separation. So community is critical. And it's one of the big points in the National Geographic Blue Zone project. I don't know if you know about that, but they've studied first the 5 areas in the world where people live the longest. And now there's another 7 communities in the United States that are putting all their principles into work. And Manhattan Beach is one. There's a little tiny town in Minnesota that's doing it. But the number one reason those people live long and thrive and keep their minds, they don't get dementia, is community. They support each other. So everything else that they do together, and there are other people doing it with them. And that's a huge point of why they live so long. So it makes sense that it's your friends and your family that helped you get here. And now you'll be the influencers that help other people.
Truly, yeah.
They'll be within your 2 degrees.
Yes. When someone, like my roommate for next year, it's, every time he comes over, if, the first few times I kind of pestered him about it, like, hey, you should check out this diet. Hey, you should check out this diet. But if you ever, anytime the conversation opens up, I'm like, hey, I'll be totally down to support you with this, like 100% of the way. And hopefully he'll get on there. We'll see.
It will sort of infiltrate his mind over time.
Yes, yeah. It usually takes a powerful kick to get people.
Actually, I was frustrated when I first started talking about what I wanted people to try to get well, because it takes 17 times before they hear you. And I finally decided, I don't care if I'm the first time or the 17th time, but I was going to keep talking about it, because eventually I was going to get through to people and help them feel better. So yeah, he may not get it right away, but it is influencing him, and never forget that. Okay, thank you. This has been a great deal of fun.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. We truly
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
I'll check in with you every once in a while and see how your busy company is
for
doing.
sure. Yeah, of course. We appreciate that.
I'm excited. So thank you for joining me today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and meeting these two remarkable young men and their passion to do well. Thank you.
Thanks.